Welcome to Connecting the Dots with Chris Buchignani. Chris, I'm excited because
Me too.
State College just won a national award. USA Today, a newspaper
A major award.
a major award. USA Today, which I have dear in my heart. When Albert Newhirth launched that national newspaper, I studied every move he made. But anyway, so now from the grave, he's awarded State College, PA, something pretty cool. What is it?
USA Today dubbed State College America's #1 small college town.
And what does this all mean?
Well, first of all, let's just say up front, all these lists are nonsense. They're just ridiculous. And yet, we get to be #1 in anything. We're going to claim it and we're going to promote it. I don't know. I think we agree here, Greg, that they got this one right. Yes.
Yeah, so they got it right. I always just say, like, what's new about this? I choose to live here because it's the best place to live, work, and play. But it's nice to get some accolades,
It is.
some validation of why, in a world of freedom, we choose to live here.
Yeah, I went back and looked at the first little sit down you and I did here on Connecting the Dots, this experiment in media for Connect Happy Valley. And I used a couple of my favorite lines, including I tell my friends from cities, it's nice to be mocked for how little crime, traffic, and pollution there is where I live. And I think I maybe also referenced the Steve Manuel, we're living on the good ship Lollipop line, which Steve, if folks don't know, he's a U.S. Marine Corps vet. He's an adjunct lecturer or faculty member. I don't want to get his title wrong. He teaches in the College of
We're
Com.
instructors is what
Yeah,
we call
yeah, whatever.
us
He
adjunctors.
teaches in the College of Com. And you've probably seen some of his photos for the Penn State Alumni Association of Penn State
goodness.
football. Great guy.
Talent.
And he taught a PR class, and he told us we were on the good ship Lollipop here in Happy Valley. And he said it with a little bit of tongue in cheek, kind of ex-Marine Corps gruff to him, a little derisively. And yet here he is living here for how many decades? And I noticed that. I thought, oh man, you're poking fun. And yet you live and work on the good ship Lollipop. And, I always say, so if you're a passenger, just do not disembark. And again, when I see State College ranked there and recognized nationally in that way, it doesn't shock me because I've been here for 30 years, Greg. And just this past weekend, oh God, the weather was unbelievably beautiful. It was great. I had a nice brunch with my wife at Flower and Stone. It was amazing. We got out, we hiked Mount Nittany.
Oh, my goodness.
My daughter got to go work out and play, outside with her friends. It was great. And I'm thinking, I said out loud at one point, I can't believe where I live. I can't believe how beautiful it is, how much green space we've managed to preserve, even as the area has expanded. And I can't believe all the different amenities and entertainment options we have within a stone's throw away. And if you're a Penn Stater who loves alma mater, you're right there. Anytime you want to connect to that nostalgia that is going to draw tens of thousands of people back here in less than 2 weeks for Blue White Weekend, you can just hop on up to campus and take a walk around and remember your college days. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
And, after I dropped you off at our local YMCA, where your daughter is a swimmer, and I remember when that pool was built, the town got together and said, we need a pool. We all passed the hat and built a pool there. The parents in particular gave the largest pledge. And then I drove through campus and was blown away by every fraternity had major tents up and over 200 people roaming around these front yards. And these were the parents of these fraternity and sorority people.
Yeah, it was Greek Parents Weekend. And when I mentioned we were having brunch at Flower and Stone, there was a couple seated next to us who were in town to visit their daughter. And neither one of them went to Penn State. One was a Clemson alum, so their daughter was choosing between Penn State and Clemson. And they said as soon as she got on campus, Penn State had won. She knew this was where she wanted to be. So when she got accepted, it was no contest, even though mom was rooting for alma mater. And they were just talking about how much they loved the area and how they had really enjoyed coming here to visit and getting to explore and getting to learn more about Penn State. And they were decked head to toe in Penn State gear. So once we get our hooks in you, Greg, we got them set.
And imagine that. Most of these students, I'd say over 50% are out of state. in the Greek. So these parents are coming in from Long Island,
Sure.
from South Carolina, perhaps North Carolina, Ohio, and their children come here and they get involved with the clubs and the social organizations and the blue bands and as we look at the impact of AI on higher education, is this not why the Wall Street Journal is saying that the schools like Penn State are not only going to survive but thrive for the very reason what we saw this weekend?
If our leadership is smart and perceptive and decisive enough to recognize that as the economy transforms via technology and the value of an undergraduate education shifts, the value proposition moves from the vocational training that's going to be able to be delivered more efficiently and effectively by artificial intelligence to exactly what you're talking about: experience, character formation, the chance to become a better human, which is what higher ed was supposed to be when we stole the idea from the Europeans all the way back in the day and merged it with agriculture and science and engineering via the Land-Grant Act and America's version of higher ed. If they can figure that out and get in front of the wave, then yes, absolutely. Penn State can be as good at that as any institution in the country, in part because it's situated in America's #1 small college town that makes folks from Jersey and New York and Connecticut all come here because their kids are enrolled and fall in love with the place.
And that's a key point. If leadership leans into what has made Penn State in demand, and I also read that higher education is going to go from 4 years to 3 years. Canada has been doing that, and it just makes economic sense.
Sure.
And so if we're going to be marketing admissions to a 3-year credentialing organization, these clubs and these social organizations, and I was running around campus yesterday morning and ran by 7 buildings, and I noticed that every building was named after an alum of a fraternity, Stuckman, Huck. These people maybe found exactly where the future of Penn State is.
Place, experience, relationships, soft skills. What if we teach you how to write even though the robot can do it? Number one, because the robots can't do it as well. And number two, because of what it's going to do physically to the structure of your brain and probably to something less substantial to the shape of your soul. And so I'm not, look, is there a little part of me as a communications major who is now kind of laughing at the fact that all the hard sciences people and all the mathematicians and engineers are first in line to get replaced by the robots after, 25 years of being mocked? Yeah, a little bit. But truly, when you look at it and you say, what can the artificial intelligence do incredibly well? What can it do as well or better than the humans right now? And what is it first in track to replace? It is some of those quantitative functions. Now, again, we're going to have human brains on all of this for a long time, because if you've had any experience with AI hallucinations, you don't want the robot building the bridge you're going to drive across. You'll get halfway across and realize it's unfinished, and the response will be, "Oh, you're absolutely right. We didn't finish the bridge," and that's a crucial catch. So yes, you're going to have humans who know how to do these things. But my larger point is that if higher ed is going to adapt to a post-AI world, its ability to deliver character formation and a civilizing influence on our society is going to become not only more crucial to just the kind of communities we form and the kind of world our kids grow up in, but just from a pure economic standpoint, that's the way they are going to continue to justify their value. So let's cross our fingers, Craig, that those who hold the levers of power at Penn State get this figured out before it's too late to take advantage of the gold rush that waits just over the horizon in the world of higher ed. And again, take solace in the fact that they are sitting on, as you might say, acres of diamonds right here in Happy Valley, home of America's #1 small college town.
Acres of diamonds, and we're sitting on oil. And you just described what the oil is, student groups, organizations, why the parents were here this weekend, why the parents justify spending $40,000 a year for Johnny and Susie to come here is the belief that emotional intelligence, EQ, is more valuable than IQ. And certainly we are leaning in to the oil and the acres of diamonds upon what we're sitting on. And that's why we're even here filming this little connecting the dots, as we're trying to connect the dots. And I'm convinced it's connecting people to places and to each other, which I say is at the heart of democracy, and it's the heart of love, and so connecting the dots, trying to connect the audience to people in these third places where having a beer at Zeno's is more valuable than sitting in a classroom at this point. And because we're developing emotional connection, and that's where innovation happens. And I'm leaning in, all in, and on the future of the oil we sit on here, and that leadership is going to lean in. The parents are voting with their dollars. That's why they're building more student housing on campus, which I also walked by yesterday.
The classroom now can go straight to your device. The credentialization today could be, and is in some places, internalized to big corporations. Like Google could train future Google employees to work for Google better than land-grant universities
And they
can.
are. And Walmart just built a college, and we lost the head of my department, went down to the Walmart kids, have created a school of innovation in Bentonville, Arkansas, and we got a 2-week notice.
But you said it. Sitting at a wooden table in a basement bar that has been there for nearly 50 years with freshman hazing posters from the 19 teens hanging on the walls, enjoying a craft beer that was maybe made locally, where a young student is talking to an old alum townie, that experience cannot be replicated by the robots and will not be replicated by the corporations. So that's, in my opinion, where the value rests in the future. And we've got it.
We've got it all. Acres of diamonds sitting on oil. Now we got to mine it, frack it, tap it, and distribute it.
The good ship lollipop awaits.
Or Disney World North, I've always called it. So but now back to the USA Today thing. What did they mention in that article? It was interesting to see the article that was written and how the local media is even covering why we won.
Yeah.
And I saw the word arboretum. I can hardly pronounce that word. But do you remember when that thing opened?
I do.
I just walked through there. Number one, and I said, why would Penn State invest so much money into that amazing gardens? And it's just like...
You're kidding me. You asked yourself that? It wasn't self-evident?
Well, tell me about that, because that's like another infrastructure item. And I know on the drawing boards is a planetarium, which I still hope they build.
Yeah, please.
But it was like, and I brought like friends over, and I brought some non-Penn Staters, and they'll say, why did Penn State build this? And there's always economic, cutting costs and stuff. There was a lot of like trustees and the state's not giving us money, and then we invest in that. But again, it's one of those pinch me moments. Like I'm saying, I went by the stadium yesterday and I'm seeing that thing go up, and I'm going, how courageous to build a $700 million stadium is going to be used year round. Everywhere I turn when I walk around campus on a Sunday, which I do every Sunday at 7:30, meet me at Sunset Park. And we just walk around and look at these buildings. But like, why is this infrastructure getting better every day?
Listen, Greg, I am all for austerity measures where they could be sensibly applied to Penn State's budget. So don't misunderstand me. But if you don't, in a university, after this whole conversation we just had, if you don't prioritize quality of life improvement as an ends unto itself, where are you going to do it? The reason you build an arboretum is exactly because of everything we just discussed. Because you've got to deliver a sense of place. You have to be in some way meaningfully distinct from what can be accessed more cheaply, easily, and probably more effectively through the devices and artificial intelligence. And the robot, at least until Elon plugs a wire into my brain that fires the right electrical impulses to trick me into thinking I'm standing in an arboretum, the robot can't replace that experience.
Well said. Well said. Now notice we're not using AI right now.
We are not. No one would suspect that.
So-
listening to this conversation, I assure you.
You're right. So all trends are going to, especially as AI, and we might have a wire in our head, there's a movement, and it's a global movement to get off our phones and into real life. Again, Connect Happy Valley. We're attempting to put people to places and to each other. So, and there's also a trend to touch grass. There's a trend. I actually heard from a student in my building last night on a Sunday night was telling me he's going to get married. And I was at Alpha Zeta as a faculty advisor, and one of the kids got engaged Saturday.
It's the Ag Fraternity next to Rec Hall.
Beautiful place, co-ed, built, probably in 1901. But so two people telling me they're getting married in a young age. And so I asked this young man, "You're getting married?" I thought the trend now is to wait to 34 for men. And he goes, "Oh no, there's a big trend. If you find the right one, do it now. Start the family. Let's get going. Do it in your 20s. Don't wait until you're 42 to have your first kid." So what's going on?
I am actually encouraged by the fact that I don't understand so much of late Gen Z, early Gen Alpha, because I do believe probably preceding generations so badly messed up the promise of the American experiment and dream for these young folks that they are just going to have to go way off script to figure it out on their own. And I think humans tend to do that. Americans tend to do that. And so I've got no answers for you. And to me, that's maybe the best news I've thought of all morning.
Okay, good. So tell us what's happening to go out IRL in real life this week.
Well, so there's a 3-game baseball home series against Rutgers this weekend. And I think the promotions get better with each game. They've got ice cream and autographs on Saturday. That's at 2:00. I made sure I knew the start time because you were going to ask me.
And the weather's going to be nice.
Go to the website. Weather's going to be great.
You'll be out there in shorts, having ice cream.
And then on Sunday, they're doing a birthday party for the Nittany Lion. And, baseball was actually the sport that birthed the Nittany Lion mascot.
As it should.
Joe Mason, the mighty Penn State Lion, bests the Princeton Tiger every time.
And I love looking at those old costumes. I was looking at the Nittany Lion from like 1982, and it was pretty ratty back then compared to now.
You go back in the day, man, there are some genuinely horrifying ones. I don't think they did as much stuff with, little kids and going to parties and stuff back in the 50s, but it was probably a good thing because those mascots would have scared the bejesus out of all those kids.
All the long hair, funny stuff.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, terrifying.
So what else? We got baseball. We got
imagine that thing looming over you like the hot breath on your back of your neck. Scary.
What else? What else is happening?
That's what I got. That's what
all?
I got. There's if you're a tennis fan, got a couple of home tennis matches this weekend. I know Oregon on Sunday, and I'm blanking on our Friday opponent.
Okay. And so no more home lacrosse?
No, that was it.
And now we're going into the playoffs, hopefully?
Yes.
Did they win Saturday?
I wished you wouldn't ask.
Oh,
no,
sure.
they did in absolutely just heartbreaking fashion. For second game in a row, they lost almost as time expired by a goal to Michigan. Tough.
Ooh. Okay.
The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Gotta love that. Yeah. So we're going to soon weave in all the entertainment, cultural arts events too. So to fill out things now that most seasons are over and we're going into summer.
Well, I guess we can kind of just tease a little bit that you and me sitting at this table was just sort of a proto version, a beta version of what's to come.
Yes. And well, give us a little insight about Blue White Weekend. I know that's 2 weekends from now. It kind of snuck up on us. And
did it?
Well,
maybe on you.
It has for me. Somebody said it was this weekend coming up. I said, no, it's 2 weekends. They thought it was this weekend. So what can we expect? Do we know much about it yet?
Well, all the pomp that surrounds the traditional spring scrimmage is going to stay the same, I think. They're going to do the carnival and the autograph signing and all that kind of good stuff. Certainly there'll be a lot of people who come in just to enjoy the town and tailgate. Inside Beaver Stadium, it is going to look a little bit different. They have announced it is going to be a practice. I don't know what sort of a practice. I don't know how much contact they're going to do. I don't know how much effort is going to be made to entertain the folks who actually go into the stadium. And there's contrasting views on how much of a risk that is in terms of devaluing the weekend going forward. That, Penn State in its beneficence has continued to do a blue-white weekend, even though spring scrimmages are falling out of favor all across college football because of the economic impact it has for the university and the town, quite frankly. And there's some people who have said, oh man, if you just pull people into Beaver Stadium and all you do is put on a football practice, they're going to get angry and they're not going to come back. My contention is, I think, a little bit more optimistic in that the blue-white game was not exactly riveting to begin with. And most of my friends who come into town for blue-white weekend couldn't care less about the scrimmage. They rarely actually go into the stadium, especially if the weather is nice. And if they do, they don't even know what they're looking at. They don't know the names of the players. And more importantly, they don't care. It's nice to be inside Beaver Stadium. Maybe they'll stick around so they can get down on the field for the novelty's sake of it at the end. But this idea that there are people flocking to Happy Valley because they really want to see how the backup offensive linemen look in the intra-squad scrimmage, to me, is ludicrous. So the blue-white game has been boring. As a practice, it will be boring. And whatever they do going forward, in all likelihood, will continue to be boring to a stultifying degree, and no one will care because we're America's #1 small college town. And that's what brought them back in the first place. It was the spirit of the Nittany Valley, not their excitement at seeing what the quarterback depth chart looks like against no contact in April.
So to kind of conclude then, we're just looking for an excuse to tailgate.
Amen, brother.
We're going to set up at 8 o'clock and we're going to tailgate, practice for the season. And as you lamented, in January, we tailgated at 2-degree weather to watch a hockey game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so isn't that the defining oil upon which we sit, is just the word tailgating?
Yes, sir. And I just strongly suspect it is not going to go away because they are running 7-play simulations instead of a fake football game played by guys 95% of the people in the stadium don't even know the names of.
So maybe if we were to head up the visitor bureau, all we have to do is continually schedule opportunities to tailgate in those lots 52 weeks of the year, and the economy will continue to grow and boom.
We need to sell good feelings and nostalgia and ability to reconnect to some of the best times, people, and memories of your life.
No one does it better than Happy Valley.
Go out, touch grass, and enjoy the Nittany Valley, folks.